to Triathlon Mind's preview of this year's Hawaiian Ironman World Championships. I'm Brad Cox, and joining me today, Dr. Mitch Anderson. Welcome, Mitch.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me. Welcome all.
Elly Franks, welcome. Alongside Elly is a man that needs no introduction, Mr. Cool, Luke Bell. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you very much. It's good to be sitting here talking about Kona, albeit the Melbourne weather's not quite the same, but it's as exciting as ever.
We're here at Cafe Racer in St Kilda in Melbourne, where, as Luke said, the weather is a little cooler, but we've got plenty of hot topics to talk about. We'll preview both the men's and women's professional races, and we'll take a look at some hot tips to get you about Kona this year. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Other than it being a World Championship, guys, what is it about this race that makes it so special?
Well, it is the place to be. Whether you're an age group or a pro, or even watching the event, it is electric there at Digby Beach every morning in the lead up to the Ironman, and it's a special place.
Yeah, I think Kona's just got the history, and everyone wants to be there. You walk around town and everyone's cut, everyone's as fit as they possibly can be. It's like a walking triathlon pageant out there. But I think it's the history, the mystique of the island. Everyone talks about the lava fields there that, just creates this vibe. And although you say, without the World Championships, it is the World Championships. Everyone's as fit as they possibly can be and is there for one reason only.
The appeal is because it is everyone's A race, as the Americans would say. And everyone's fit. And I think it's the exposure that you get as well, racing in Hawaii, as an age grouper or as a professional as well. And it's that one opportunity. I mean, all Ironmans, there's age groupers and professionals together, but it's the best of the best from both sides. And I think that contributes as well.
We talk about being a week out from the race at the moment. What sort of things would the athletes be going through over there?
Sweating.
Sweating a lot.
Literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, I think, you get there and you get there early enough to acclimatise and adapt and do all those things, but the problem with race week is you're training less and you're just getting around town, and there's these fit athletes everywhere, so it plays on your mind. Being there as a professional, it still plays on your mind. You walk around town and it's hard to switch the mind off and focus on, it is, at the end of the day, it is just another race. That's all it is. You have to go through the process and do whether you qualified here at Melbourne, Port Macquarie, Cairns, it's going through the same process really, but for some reason you start sweating bullets. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I think you touched on the acclimation there, Luke, the heat acclimation. Obviously it's not at altitude when you go to Kona, but athletes are really challenged by not just being tapered for the event, but actually coming from a cooler climate like Melbourne, the challenge is actually to be heat adapted. So yeah, the elites are getting there. Well, I know Liz Blatchford turned up there a month out. In fact, a lot of athletes go there a month out. But you need at least 2 weeks in the heat, and trying to taper and heat adapt is a really difficult thing to do. And it's chemistry. It's hard to always get right.
Yeah, we've seen that with so many of the athletes over the years, and we'll touch on that shortly as about those who have prepared the best and looking the goods for this year. Getting into it, let's look at the women's pro field. We'll start with them. To me, it's a one-horse race. It's all about Rinny. Marinda Carfrae, she's got the quickest run out of the lot, in my opinion, but there's some super bikers, and if they get a good gap, this could be the story of the race. What do you think?
Can't Elly, chime in.
I think I'd love to see Rinny win, being Australian, but I think this year there's probably two factors. One is that there's quite a few really strong swim bikers who could potentially work well together on the bike. You've got Jodie Swallow, Meredith Kessler, and also Daniela Riff as well, who I think will really mix things up a little bit. The other factor is age group men are only 20 minutes behind this year, so I'm not sure if that will play a part in some of the really strong runners around getting out of the water around Rinny. Potentially bringing it closer later in the day as well. So it'll be an exciting one this year, I think. I think Rinny is the favourite, but I don't think it's a guarantee, that's for sure.
I think the start changes have really played into Rinny's hands. You know, she's going to have the advantage of men passing her, the age group men passing her in the last third of the race. And I think that, you know, for her, that's crackerjack. That's when the headwind really kicks in the last 2 hours of the race. You know, she will have probably had 3 or 4 minutes swum into her by the lead age groupers, who'll be riding, about 15 minutes into her, about the 120k mark. So for her, just being able to pace off her efforts, even just pacing, not drafting, but just pace her efforts, having people ride around her would be a massive advantage.
And we talk about the swim start changes, men going off first, pros, then the women's, and then followed by the age groupers for the first time. Do you think that's going to advantage the non-swimmers or the weaker swimmers versus the bike and runners?
Like it is a tough one because, you know, starting closer together, you can get caught up in it, but then having the separate, you're getting open water. You know, just touching on Rinny again, everyone talks about her run strength and, you know, phenomenal last year. What was it, like 4th or 6th fastest time overall? But what people failed to see also was, you know, her bike improved a lot last year. She was in the lead before she got to the energy lab. So theoretically, she had 12 kilometres of relatively cruising home, enjoying the win. This year, as we mentioned, there's swim bikers. Jodie Swallow, I know Leander Cave's going to be primed. Heather Wertel's had a great season this year, 70.3 and Ironman. Danielle Arif has shown the world that multiple times now, from Switzerland through to Mont Tremblant a few weeks ago, that she is fit and strong and ready to go. And then you've got, you know, others that run as quick. Caitlin Snow has run multiple sub 3 hours in Kona. Lindsay Corbin has started to step up this year too with the run. She's dipped under that 3 hour mark. The number of girls that are under that 3 hour mark is phenomenal. It's putting the pressure on Rinny, but you know, Rinny's the Crowie. She's the pro's pro. She knows how to turn up to in Kona, and we say her run's a strength, but you know, we just fail to see that her swim and bike are still exceptionally strong. You don't win a world championship with a weak leg these days.
Based on Rinny's strengths being her run, and what we saw with Crowie a few years ago and the guys teaming up to beat her on the bike, do the girls need to look at doing the same sort of thing to beat her?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they need at least 15. Anyone who's off the bike with less than a 15-minute lead is going to be thinking, oh, you know, she can run 2:52. You know, can I run quicker than 3:07? But I just think that the ITU girls who are coming through now, and you know, you mentioned Danielle Riff before. She, you know, I think that and Liz Blatchford knows how to work. Look, she came from 10th place into a 3rd place last year, and she's learned a lot from that experience. So, you know, the ITU spirit coming into long course racing has made an enormous difference.
I think last year was the first time we actually saw the females race come as close as possible to what the males race is in terms of tactics. For, you know, the first half of the bike, like coming down from Harvey, you saw a solid, you know, legal pack of females, and that hasn't happened in years. It's normally you see 1s and 2s, but you know, there's a half dozen to a dozen athletes up the front now. And although, you know, we sit here and talk about Rinny and all the pressure on her, I think come closer to Kona, there's going to be a lot of pressure or a lot of talk around Caroline Steffen. 2 reasons. One, you know, she's coached by Macca, and everyone is on the edge of their seats to see whether this is going to be the thing that changes things and makes her step back up onto the podium, ultimate top step. And 2, she just showed us a couple of weeks ago, she ran a 1:18 at Sunny Coast 70.3. She's in run form. Like she's ticking off some runs. We know she's got the strength. We know she's mentally strong. She's turned herself inside out and upside down more times than we can count her. So I think come race day, she's nearly going to have as much pressure on her as Rinny.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some comments about her and her coaching by Macca. Macca hasn't got a great background in terms of coaching professional athletes as yet, but he's got some experience on this island. He's been through it from thick and thin. It's a bold move to go to someone like him without the experience, but could it be Caroline's X factor that gets her over the line?
Yeah, I think so. Like sometimes you get stuck in a rut. Every athlete does it, from age group to the pro. You get stuck doing the same thing. Sometimes you just need to go, okay, left field, I need to do something different if I want to improve. We know Caroline's a phenomenal trainer. She trained under Brett Sutton for, you know, numerous years. She can handle load, she can handle training, and she's a determined lady. Probably the thing that Macca brings to the table that other coaches don't is mental side of things.
Danielle Arif, we touched on it. We're seeing the emergence of these ITU athletes coming into the longer distance stuff. She's had some good results, amazing results really for a breakout year. Can she step up to the plate, being Kona World Championships, top group of professionals, and the conditions as well?
I think my belief is someone has to have the runs on the board and has to have shown experience and confidence in Kona. I think it's pretty hard to back a rookie, especially rookie Ironman year as well. But in saying that, she is coached by Brett Sutton, and his comments, I think, have a fair bit of substance.
Yep.
And she's been training in Cozumel, from what I've seen, in some hot conditions, and you can only imagine the types of sessions that she's been doing.
It is a shocking place to train.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It is hot, uncomfortable place, so I'm not surprised that that Sato chose there.
Yeah, so I think it's really exciting. I'm really excited about seeing her race, and the time she's produced this year, and the people that she's beaten. I know she's a bit of a dark horse, but on paper I think she'd have to be the favourite. But then when you bring into it Kona Experience, obviously she's brought down a little bit. I think she's a definite chance.
Yeah, I just, if you talk about ITU distance people stepping up, Liz Blatchford for me is the standout. Riff is the new girl on the block, but Liz is, she's been there for a month training. And I know I've been following her on Instagram. I'll tell you what, that woman is cut.
Yep.
She's been doing track sessions with some former Australian triathlon champions, and I just think that she will have it totally dialed in this year. Her bike position on the BMC team, just fantastic. She'll really hide away from the wind, and expect her to move through the field on the run. Not on the same speed that Rinny does, but look, she's a definite podium chance, and that's all you need to be in Kona to be able to win.
And I think the other interesting one is, which people always fail to mention, and it's worldwide really, is that Pommy quiet assassin that goes about doing her own little thing, coached by Dave ×6. Rachel Joyce. She just goes about doing her thing. She's consistently performed well in Kona. She's proven there, but for some reason, when everyone comes to talking about Kona, everyone forgets to, Rachel gets sort of swept under the table. But as I said, she's the quiet assassin. She's very determined, and we talk about having Macca on your side. She's got Dave Scott on the side. He's done his fair share of suffering out there and knows what it takes to cross that finish line first. And his mental aspect, his nutritional aspect, let's face it, Dave's the ultimate tri geek, and he will dot every I and cross every T.
The top 3 girls at Kona this year all race her off. Rinny, that's different for her, and maybe is a bit of a question mark over a different build-up. Not that you discount Cyril Linley and what she does with her athletes and programs her athletes in. Is it likely to be the same 3 at the end of the day?
It's condition dependent, and I know we haven't really touched that much on this yet, but we haven't had a really windy year in Kona for 10 years now.
I think they're due.
I mean, they are due.
That's what I've been telling everyone. It's got to be this year.
If it blows in the Queen K, all bets are off. It makes it Stefan's year realistically, because she can bike 15 to 20 minutes into the likes of Rinny, and know she can get off and run well. So, the environmental conditions play a huge role in this race, and they haven't done of recent times. Apart from the heat, but I think we'll see, if not this year, it'll be next year, and that that throws the door wide open for a bunch of athletes.
Absolutely. We've talked about the favourites, the Smokies. There's always someone that has a breakout performance in Kona. Who should we look for?
Well, again, condition dependent. A girl that's, I guess, been missing in Kona for a couple of years now through injury and other reasons is Kat Morrison. She's been in the UK, although she does hail from the UK. She does have a pasty white tan, and she does race in arm sleeves to stop the sunburn. She's won 70.3 St Croix in the past, where she actually, I'm 99% sure she beat Rinny that day. She races okay in the heat. If it's really hot, I guess it's a bit up and down, but Kat Morrison for me, and actually off race form this season, Heather Wurtell. Since changing coaches, this year both her and her husband Trevor, their performances have stepped up another level. Earlier in the year she was nearly as unbeatable as Meredith Kessler was. And then, you know, you throw another name in there where she struggled in the heat a bit, but if she can string it together, you know, there's three smokies right there.
Beautiful. Elly, what do you think?
The other one, and she's been around for a while, but I raced against her in Europe and I've just never seen anything like it, is Mary Beth Ellis. She seems to get stronger and stronger as the day goes on. So she could potentially have a solid, maybe not the win, but definitely a podium performance.
Another Siri Lindley athlete there.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yep.
So.
Righto, we're going to get the tips on the women's. I'm going to stick with Rinny as my number one pick. I don't think anyone can beat her. My smoky, I'm going to go for Jodie Swallow. I think strong swimmer. She'll come out of that swim in first place.
She seems in good form.
Absolutely. I think she can hang on.
She's the best motor in the field. It's just about how the chassis holds up.
Absolutely. Luke, who do you think?
Yeah, it is. It's very hard to go by Rinny. Here's my tip I'm going to throw out there. Siri Lindley stable, first, second, third.
Big call. Watch the coaching fees go up next year. Elly?
Oh, I mean, deep down, my secret thoughts have been Riff, definitely. And then in the last sort of week or so, there's a bit more hype around her and her racing. So now I feel like my smoky's not so much a smoky anymore, but I'll stick with her.
I'm going to say it's going to blow a gale and Stefan's going to win, narrowly from Rinny. My heart goes with Rinny, but look, I'm going to go with Stefan just to throw it across the field here.
Nice one. Beautiful. There you have it. That's our tips on the women's field. We've done a reshuffle of the panel to bring in a Kona Experience expert. It's the boys now.
It's the kook! The big kook!
Welcome, the owner of this fine establishment we're sitting in today, Mr. Jim Noutsis. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me over. Seeing you had to, because it was my place you're filming, but thank you.
Just quickly, Brad, this gentleman here is the only guy I've ever seen in Kona, Hawaii, stop mid-race to sign a poster. Mid-marathon, correct, Jimmy?
And I've got proof. My son filmed it.
Nice.
So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
And what's the poor lass up to now? Is she still in therapy or okay?
No, it was actually a bloke, and thank God his name was David, because I wouldn't have been able to spell it if it was something stupid. So yeah, it was good.
You are the man about town in Kona. Best part of the last 15 years you've been there. What is it about this place, Jim, for you?
Look, being a tri geek, Kona's magic. It's just I was thinking about it the other day when we had a chat. The beautiful thing about Kona is once you're there, you're part of the family. You're part of that triathlon, and I get goosebumps. You know, most age groupers, if you're in any other sport, you enjoy the sport, but you don't get. When you're in Kona, you know, you walk down the street and you see these two, and you'll see the Maccas, and everyone's won. No one cares what time you did or how good of an athlete you are. Everyone's just happy to see everyone enjoying the sport of triathlon, and it's just, you know, and it's Kona. It's where we've watched, you know, all the, you know, the Mark Allens and the Dave Scotts race hard, you know, and it's that mythical spot, you know. I love it.
Also, you've got that, you know, it's that generated anticipation of years and years that even people who are turning up to just spectate the event, they've built it up in their minds as this massive experience. And age groupers who've taken, you know, 4, 5, 8 goes to
and
actually
a lot of money, yeah,
to qualify, and you know they've spent their lives to get there.
And you're dead right. People strive for this their entire lives. I met a guy at Port Macquarie a few years ago in absolute tears at the airport. He missed out by 2 minutes for the 8th year in a row in qualifying. He'd gone to the roll down ceremony and everybody had taken their spot.
Yeah.
He came back the following year, couldn't wipe a smile off his face. He qualified for the first time, and it was like all his Christmases had come at once.
I think the other thing, the one I remember of last year, which absolutely shocked me, and you know, a lot of people, I guess in Australia, don't know as much as Hines Ward, who was the celebrity NFL footballer, played the Super Bowl. You know, I think he's a Hall of Famer in the NFL. Doesn't have a tattoo on his body. 2 days after the race, he went and got an M. tattoo. And he was back on Monday Night Football the next night. You know, he's getting heckled about his M. tattoo. And you think, this guy's played Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No tattoo, does an Ironman, M. tattoo.
You brag for life.
Yeah.
It's you know.
Yeah, and you do.
I'm still bragging about 02, and I'm not a gifted athlete, but it's amazing. Like Lou said, it's amazing when people talk to me and they go, "Oh, you do triathlons?" I go, "Yeah." the next question is, have you done Kona?
Yes.
And they don't even ask about the time. You go, yep, and you walk away going, yeah. I'm in the great position where I go in and out of the airport, you know, for tri travel and pick up athletes, and so I get in that little bit of a hub, so I don't get time like these poor blokes. They've got to sort of get away from all that. Well, I'm in the thick of it, and it's just so good to see people coming off the plane ready to race, or ready, you know, the smiles I'm at Kona.
Come on, so we need your tips though, Jim.
Well,
when you go
it's amazing because a lot of athletes get caught up in, cotton wool and stuff like that. And I say to them, look, if you're at Kona for the first time, just enjoy the island, do the undie run, you know, go to Digby Beach, swim as much as you can, and get the hype, because when you leave the island, things change over a year, and you mightn't make it back. There's a lot of people that make it back every year, but you know, you've got to go to Turtle Beach, you've got to try to get to the energy lab and at least run it before you race, just to soak it in, and you know, and get that vibe of where it's going to hurt, and you know, all the history of the island. But yeah, the undie run's a big one for me. You got to swim at the pier. The first time I saw the pier, I freaked. It was just a transition. It's unreal.
The Captain Cook swim's a good one to do. That you should, if you're going to the island for the first time. Where Captain Cook was killed, it's about a 25-mile drive from Elly Drive, and it's about a 1.3 mile swim across. Just fantastic. You can go to the memorial and then swim back across, and the shelf of, you know, the drop away of the Pacific shelf is phenomenal.
Yeah,
you know,
amazing.
dolphins always there, and marine life, fantastic.
You got to have the coffee at the coffee boat, the catamaran.
Just about to say, you're the coffee connoisseur.
Oh look,
of Melbourne.
I only start swimming probably 2 weeks before we get to Kona, and that's just to make it to the coffee boat. It gets there Wednesday, and that's the goal. Get there, and hopefully the current doesn't take me up against the wall on the way back. But yeah, you got to do that. That's just a must.
And you mentioned before, you got these guys swaggering their way down through town with all the rest of the pros. For us mortals, age groupers, it's a bit daunting, is probably the easiest way to say it. I'm in amongst all these guys. If there was 3 or 4 things though you could do just that week prior to the race, as an age grouper, first timer, what else should it be?
You've just got a lot of them just, you know, chill out and go for your swim and get your bearings, and don't get carried away. You know, a lot of age groupers, we see them, they're running 3.5 minute Ks up and down the street doing fartlek 2 days before the race, you know, and don't get too, you know, caught up with everyone looking ripped, and just, you know, and there's got to be a spot where even age groupers, they've got to start to chill out and remove themselves. But by doing the undie run, the catamaran, you know, swimming to the boat, and you know, going over to Turtle Beach, it sort of prepares you a little bit, you know, for.
I reckon always have a drink bottle in your bag, because it's hotter than you think.
Yeah.
Always have some carbs in your back pocket, so you know, because you'll get caught at the expo, you'll end up talking to people for hours. You know, and that's my third tip: try not to get caught at the expo. Because essentially, you know, it's the thing that can kill your legs. You know, I think that everyone still wants to have their very best race there. Yeah. So I agree with you, Jim. Don't miss an opportunity to have the experience of seeing the best parts of the course and the race, but don't actually compromise on your race by, you know, just failing to do the 1%ers, like hydrating, carbohydrates, and resting your legs when you can.
I think I think a big one also is, which a lot of people neglect because it is out the far end of the bike course, is go out and actually do this section from Harvey, not necessarily from Kauai High up to Harvey, but definitely from Harvey back down to Kauai High, where the trade winds are, and cross. Just to have that knowledge. Everyone talks about how bad the trade winds can be. No, it hasn't been as windy in recent times, but it is still always windy there. So to be able to just learn how to roll with the wind rather than panic and twitch the bars, and you know, you learn to sort of drift like a tide in a way. We come through these pockets, the wind will grab you, you float across, you'll float back. But you know, if you're not ready or you haven't experienced that, you know, it'll play on some people's minds. You hear them, they played on their mind for the first half of the bike ride because of this unknown, and you're better off going out there, experiencing it, and then coming into race day, you're more content, you're more happy, you're more relaxed, and you're going to have a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mitch, you touched on the expo. One of the other things you see these guys do is people go in and they get sucked in. They see all the new product, all the new gear, and they decide to change all their race strategy, which is like the biggest no-no you can go about. Stick to your guns.
But you look cool.
Yeah. Got to make it to the finish line, though, otherwise you're not cool.
Yeah. I think people miss on just simple stuff like making sure you've got your neck well lubricated for the race day. Even though you're not wearing a wetsuit, you see people with horrible tears to their skin. That and sunscreen, I guess they're just the 1%ers that make your life so uncomfortable.
Talking about the race, for the three of you, one tip. For the first time and going over, what's the one tip for the race itself that they should take on board?
I'd say just be wary of the first half. It is so easy to get carried away in that first half. If you can get to 120 kilometres back to Kauai High in good shape, you're faring well. The roads are so slick. We think beach road's nice out here. The Queen K's highway over the years, it's slick, and you can get caught up and going out way too hard, way too fast. And the heat and humidity is, we talk about a piano on the back, this is a grand piano on the back, and it's a lonely place out on that Queen K when it happens. So just race your race and just be very wary of the first half to 3/4 of the race.
Yeah, look, I'm the same. Over the last few years, it's probably the only place, these blokes know better than I do, I tell people, and just stay on your race strategy. Do not move, because Kona's one of those spots, if you blow up, you're not coming back.
Don't get sucked in and not finish the race, because there's nothing worse than going back to your hotel without a lay, without a medal, and without a beer.
And I think one other aspect too, you talk on enjoying the race and getting to the finish line. If it means your finishing time is 2 minutes slower, walk the finish chute. Like, take it in. Like, it is a buzz that you will never get. You talk about Ironman finish lines, and then we talk the difference being Kona. And you see, I've seen guys have sprint finishes in Kona, and they'll cross the line and they're hunched over, and then you see them stand up, turn around, and their faces change because they're like, I missed taking in all this. So for the sake of 2 minutes, when you get to the banyan tree, take half an hour.
There's no sprinting.
No
sprint
banyan
finishes.
tree. It's a neutral zone.
Yeah.
No pass zone from the banyan
absolutely.
tree. No, but just suck it up, enjoy it, and take fairy steps all the way to that finish line.
Yeah, great tips. Let's move on to the spectators, because they're the other half, the support crew, the guys that are there for the full week. They suffer in that heat and humidity and follow us around town. Jim, some tips for the spectators?
On race day, it's hot. I always say to people, stay as close as you can to your hotel if possible, so you can have some stints going in and out or enjoying the pool. Because if you stay out there all day, you're gonna burn as much as the athletes. It's a tough day for spectating. It's a long day.
Have a bike. It's a great way to get around as a spectator. Most likely if you're a good sports fan, you're probably going to be able to ride a bike.
I'm going to get told off for this by Ironman probably, but what my wife Lucy does every year, and I know, I got this from my manager and a few others. Go to Walmart. They're $49 for a mountain bike. You buy a bike, race day, it's fantastic. They can get out and see, your partner on the course, and then you find some local kid after the race, and you go, here, mate.
There you go. Yeah.
Here's a bike. Everyone's a winner. Everyone's happy. I guess Ironman probably don't want that many people on course, but head up to Walmart. For $50, you're sorted.
That's awesome.
Yep.
You won't get a better tip than that one.
Yep.
So we've got our bikes. Where are we going? Where are the best spectator points on the course?
I think Palani, the hill there, that's probably the biggest buzz. You go out a bit onto the highway, and it's great if you're right into it and you're following people. But if you're not, to watch the pros, men's and women running down Palani or running up, you get a real perspective of what's going on and how we see some pros running up Palani Hill. They don't look any quicker than age groupers until they turn the corner.
Well, they're not. Let's face it.
And and coming down, if you're the best spot, is that's. You'll see the boys and the men's and women's field running flat out, for a victory down there, and the buzz down that hill is unbelievable on race day.
We'll go around one more. One tip for the spectator this time, in terms of enjoying their Kona experience.
I'll go first here.
Righto.
Take a musette to the island. You can have all your kit in there, your sunscreen, your hat, your drink, a little bit of carb, so you can go and do whatever you want, whenever you want. Even take your bathers in there and a little towel, and that way it doesn't matter. You're self-sufficient for the day. You can choose to rest when you like, you've got your little pack around your neck.
Yeah, I think for me, as keen as I am, I take an intermission out of the race. I disappear for at least an hour while they're all out on the bike course, and have something to eat, have some lunch, enjoy the pool, and then come out, and enjoy the rest of the night. Because some of us will be out there till the end, till midnight. So yeah, you need a couple of breaks.
Yeah, I think, and experiencing this myself, is have a meeting point. Plan a meeting point after the race for if things go well, things go wrong, because the area of transition to the finish line is such a fenced off area. I've still got this vivid image of Lucy scaling this 8-foot high fence just to try and get in, because we never thought about, okay, after the race, where are we going to meet? So just before race day, say, hey, this is going to be our meeting point, and then you'll always have that, and you'll always be able to meet up, rather than it eliminates a whole lot of stress.
Great. And for me, my tip, enjoy the finish line. Pretty much what you spoke about before, Belly, but come back, go home, have a shower, do your thing, come back and watch everybody else finish. There's nothing better than an Ironman finish line late in the night, couple of beers, everyone else, get them across the line. It's a great experience.
That midnight countdown there is something that'll stay with you forever.
So there you go. They're the tips for your Kona experience. Thanks, Jim, for joining us.
No, thank you.
And having us here as well. It's been great.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Love it.
Welcome back. Elly's joined us again. We're going to take a look at the men's pro field now. Got some favourites. I heard a great stat this week. The last 16 out of the last 17 years, the guys who finished in the top 4 of the previous years have won the race. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. It's a massive field. We'll start it off. Luke?
Oh, you reckon it won't be the case?
No.
I've got. Oh, it's hard to knock off that Kinlay fella that finished in that top few last year. But yeah, it is an open year this year. I think we're going to see some performances out of the box, some phenomenal performances, and we're going to see some nuclear war cloud explosions out there as well. It's a hard race to pick.
We're not big on politics here, but it's been a big week from the men's side in particular. Past champion Pete Jacobs. There's been some words exchanged between WTC and Andrew Messick in an interview that was done yesterday. Pete's come back with an open letter back to WTC. Got to ask you guys in particular, what do you think of the situation, and what's your opinion on it?
We should background it that we saw the world champion, walking with a packet of chips, validating late last year, and Tim O'Donnell, her partner, her now husband, did the same sort of thing. They took it easy, and they did some times that are commensurate with elite age groupers. Now, Pete Jacobs fits into his year. He's gone by the rules and gone out in Switzerland, not had an A-type race, but chose to walk to the finish line and validate his position as a world champion. He just has to get across to the finish line.
What was his other option? That's the thing. What would he? I don't understand what he was expected to do other than validate.
Well, he was then criticised by Andrew Messick for putting up a subpar performance as a professional athlete, and he was really singled out. I think unfairly by Andrew Messick, and I think in most people's eyes quite unfairly, for simply following the rules and validating as he should have when he wasn't having an A game time.
The big question, I guess, coming out of that is, all these interruptions, how's Pete going to go? Has he got any chance, or has it been that big a disruption to his build-up for the whole year?
Let's face it, your guess is as good as mine. And the reason you love or hate Pete is because you never know what you're going to get. As an athlete myself and racing Pete, he's an athlete that scares you. When you stand on a start line, you'll generally know how the form of your fellow competitors, where they're at in their season, how they're going to go. Pete, what he's done in training and his past races other than today, you've got no idea. It's not
relevant.
It's irrelevant. Pete turns up, and if he 100% or 110% thinks he can win the race, he can win the race. His natural ability is phenomenal, and if he believes it 110%,
he's unbackable when he believes he can win. And you know, I christened him the albino tiger, and I really believe he's the only one out there who has the motor and the self-belief to win when he decides to.
Yep.
But the problem is, Pete can't always decide to win. You know, and we've seen him perform horribly, and you know, do a can-can dance with Rebecca Keat and Belinda Granger. You know, you see him out there and you think, really, Pete? And then, you know, but
he's a new Pete Robbo. Pete Robbo, you think he was off, and then he wins 3 world titles, and you know, he believed he could do it. And Pete, if he turns up and believes he can do it, there's no reason why he can't.
It's a perfect example of you don't have to have a stellar year to come out and win Kona. And, you know, he's done what a lot of people have never done and will never do. So I think you can't discount anyone who's won in the last few years.
You can't discard talent. And the boy has talent.
Absolutely. Speaking of talent, others out there, it's a big field, probably the most competitive we've seen in a long time in terms of broadness. With so many races on throughout the year this year, we don't really get a good comparison between the top athletes. Who else should we be looking out for?
Well, I'm looking out for... You're kind of getting us to call our smokies early.
Yeah.
But, you know...
Don't give it away.
Well, I'm going to give it away. That Victor Del Corral for mine.
Oh.
You know, he's won 2 Ironman races in 2 weeks. A fair while ago now, I might add. He's been able to go back to Europe, cool his jets, and prepare specifically for Hawaii.
How far back will he be after the swim, do you think?
A long way, but...
3 minutes, 6 minutes?
Well,
who knows?
I mean, I'm not going to predict exactly where he's going to be. And again, it'll depend on the winds. But, you know, anyone who can run a 2:37.29 marathon is a chance on the Iron, because the run matters. The run matters. It's the only thing that matters, realistically.
Yeah, I think, you know, you come back to tried and proven, and Kona is theoretically one on the run. It's he who fatigues last and handles the heat the best. Last year we saw one phenomenal effort by a different Spaniard, Rana. He's proven in ITU. He's raced pro cycling. So we know earlier in the year, was it Austria, I think? He went phenomenally fast.
Klagenfurt.
Yep, and he ran a 2:48 last year. So he's one to watch, and I think one that no one's talked about all year again, and has changed coach to another 6-time, may not be Dave, maybe called Mark this time, is one T.O. O'Donnell, Rinny's boyfriend. He's been very quiet. He's raced a hell of a lot less than what he normally does. And Mark is very big on being prepared and being ready for one day, and he knows that one day in the year matters, and that's Kona. So he's done everything possible to get T.O. there. T.O. was
fifth place last year.
5th place last year, ran up into 5th. And, you know, I've raced him enough to know that he's got the potential to... He definitely swims front pack with ease. He's got the ability to ride, you know, front pack with Freddie. And then, you know, we've seen his run. He could be, you know, what America has been hoping for the past 10 years, really.
And, I mean, who knows? He might run like Rennie.
He's got some pressure to outsplit Rennie. We've seen that there has been a thing where I think he did come out and say, Rennie, you will never outrun me ever again.
Getting chicked by your wife, that's a whole nother story. Niels from Holt, he's another one everyone's been talking about. Can he deliver at Kona?
I'd like to go back to what Mitch says. I'm pretty sure it's his first time here. Yeah. Ross conditions, you know, they were warm from all accounts, what everyone said. You know, he had a phenomenal race, but Timo Brack, I think, off memory, caught him fairly early in the run. You're going to have to worry about more than Timo Brack there, and you're not... Niels had a phenomenal race there and phenomenal bike, but he's not going to get off the bike solo in Kona, let's face it. Like, you're going to have Marino, there's Kinlay, you've got Weiss, you know, there's... You know, Freddie, the list is long. That's going to change his race strategy. All of a sudden, Roth, he was able to race his race. Kona, you're dictated to by other people. It's not ideal, but that's the way the game and that's the way the ball rolls.
James Cunnama is another one. He was 4th last year, if my memory serves me correctly now. Can he have another step up a bit further onto the podium?
Well, look, another one, I mean, he's Jody Swallow's partner. Another one, I tell you what, a lot of pressure.
It's a race about the couples this year more than anything else.
But they've spent a lot of time they raced in Mexico, where it's in the heat there, and he won the 70.3 there last year.
I actually think he's coached by Macca now.
Oh yeah, sorry, but he is.
Yes,
That's correct. They both. They're not with Sato or Siri. Yeah, Kanama was coached by Sato for a while, and anyone who's been in and around those elite type coaches and performed the way that he has. He's a 112, 111 type runner off the bike in the heat. So in a half. So you just know it's a matter of time till he really produces that. That marathon which has panache to win a kind of top race.
He seems to have had a really consistent uphill, like a really consistent improvement over the last few years, whereas others, like my potential pick, Jan Frodeno, he's gone from here to here like this. So I think that consistent improvement over the last few years for Kanama will,
and
put him in a good spot.
Jan's another one.
Yeah, he's my pick.
Great ITU credentials, 70.3 credentials. He's now won
Olympic credentials.
Yeah.
The guy's credential.
He's unbelievable.
And let's face it, he's a good-looking fella.
He's a good-looking rooster.
That wasn't why I picked him.
Sure.
Can run. He's a triple threat.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, he's the great hope that in the same way that I spoke about it before with Lessing. We thought he was going to come beyond and win the race, but actually I truly believe that Frodeno could win on debut. And
it's been a while.
If he gets out of the water with Andy Potts, is he still racing? Yep. If he gets out of the water with a few others, and potentially if Pete swims and rides well as well, I think that'll set him up for a good race.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll just be there all day. You're never going to be able to discount him because I just think he'll be front pack swim, front pack bike, and he's a front pack runner. It's just a matter of whether or not he's got enough experience on the day in Hawaii to make it happen.
He's another ultimate professional. He's going to turn up the island prepared.
Yeah,
he's ready to go. Other guys train a lot. He's doing his Pilates. He's got his Masua. Like he's dialed. He'll turn up ready to go.
It'd be remiss of us not to mention the old timers. I'm going to call them Crowry, Farasol Satan. Can they have another good race?
Yeah, I think it was Mark or Dave once said, never discard a previous champion. And as I said, you can't discard talent. The guys have got talent, and you've had on and off days, but at the end of the day, they've got a motor. They've won the race. There's no reason, and you should never discard an athlete.
I just think with Crowe, I mean, he owns the course record there. He ran so well in Melbourne this year, and I think that sort of a lot of people didn't give him credit for that. So he really, and because he sort of retired, he's been taking retirement tips from Jason Shortis, who 44 now, still running 250 odd off the bike. But I just think that the only thing that's going to hold Crowe back is his own self-confidence, and I think he can definitely win. And we've seen the way he can ride on his on day, and I don't discount him because he'll be top 10. Rain, hail or shine, I reckon he's a top 10 kind of guy.
Absolutely, and I think the fact that he announced his retirement, everyone just kind of wiped him off so quick, and he's had a beautiful, quiet build-up, kept to himself, hasn't had to do so much media, potentially not as many sponsor commitments.
There's no pressure.
The pressure's gone. You're dead right, and he could come out and just fire on all cylinders and be the one to catch. Sebastian Kienle, Luke McKenzie, second last year. Superbikers. Luke probably had a breakthrough performances in a lot of people's opinions, but has been thereabouts for a number of years now, and a seasoned professional. And Kienle's fast. Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, Mackenzie's definitely going to be out of the water front pack. I think that the few times he missed the pack here at Melbourne and in Roth, it will be sorted in Kona. Non-wetsuit swim motion, he'll be front pack. I think he'll bide his time and wait for the Marinos and the Kinleys to come by, and then they will whack the bike coming home. That will cause some havoc. He'll have taken some confidence out of last year, so look for Luke to have definitely a top 10, another top 5 sort of day. I think you've got to have an on day to get that top 3, but yeah, definitely look for a top 5. Kinley, he's fast. Take nothing from Ironman Mont Tremblant. What I got out of that was he's in a big training block. He politely said that there was no reason for his day in Mont Tremblant. probably true to that, other than he's got tired legs. He will ride fast and then back it up with a sub 250 marathon in Kona.
The biggest incentive for Luke is the new addition to his family,
Yeah.
Win. Racing with desperation is the very best way to get it done on the island. And I think that with a young family, he's just got everything to race for and the experience now of racing at the top level. So, you know, as far as Kinlay goes, I mean, here's my tip. You know, it's going to be a windy year.
Yeah.
So, you know, Stefan's going to win and he's going to win. It's obvious.
A day for the strong bikers.
He's phenomenal. Like, when everyone was melting in Las Vegas, he's just chopping out the 111, 112, just whatevs. Like, the guy's unbelievable. Like, you know, it's a matter of time till he has his on day in Hawaii, and, you know, why wouldn't it be this year?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I think potentially coming down to the run, it'll be pretty exciting between those two, but obviously a lot of others as well.
And speaking about that, let's talk about some race tactics. How do you see the race unfolding this year, given the fact that it is so broad? Is it going to be the super bikers that lead it out, as we've seen, and then someone chase them down, or is it going to be something different and lead and hang on?
I think it's going to be fast. So everyone's very wary of Kinlay and Marino. You know, Marino's back in the race. He had last year off. He's a big X factor. The first part of the bike, we normally ride through, like being in that front bunch. You'll tick off 40 k's in 52 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around the 50-minute mark, purely to keep Kinlay at bay, and then later on, you know, trying to delay that time or more energy expenditure before he catches the group, and then he's able to whack them. But flip side of that is these guys in, you know, that front bunch trying to delay Kinlay catching up. We've got to expend energy to keep him at bay. So it'll be interesting to see. It's wide open, and we could see, as I said, some nuclear explosions come Energy Lab 30-kilometre mark, and, you know, that back half of the race. If you're within a sniff going into the Energy Lab, then grit your teeth, because all of a sudden coming out of the Energy Lab, you may find yourself at the very pointy end of the race.
Absolutely. Elly?
I think looking at all these big names, and this is something I've always sort of done in my races where there's some big names in the race, it's quite intimidating, is one of them for some reason probably won't start, for some reason. One of them will just go out too hard and blow up and be gone early days. You know, and one will potentially have a cracking race and come through from nowhere. So, hard one to predict. But, I mean, yeah, definitely I think it'll come from the lead bike pack, whoever can run the best.
We've got to get to the tips and wrap it up. I think it's still going to be a runner's race at the back end of it. Luke, who's your tip and who's your smoky, most importantly?
Tip, smoky, for me this year, same thing, Ivan Rana.
Still mine.
Elly, Rana as well?
I was going to go with Rana, but there's a big part of me that thinks young Frodeno could potentially come through and take the win as well.
Mitch?
Kinlay is going to be my tip. The Mamuka wins are going to just whoosh down between the saddle there, and
I think German 1, 2, 3 actually. Let's go back to that.
and but my smoky is Frodeno. You know, he can't. I can't tip him as a winner because he hasn't raced there before. But he's definitely my smoky.
And I'm sticking with Rana as well. I think it's his year. And my smoky, I'm gonna stick with Pete Jacobs. I agree with you, Luke. If he's on, look out, and he's got a point to prove to WTC, and that might just be enough of a kick up the backside.
If he wins the race, honestly, it is going to be hilarious to watch the stink eyes on the stage afterwards. It's going to be hilarious. I mean, I want him to win just for that alone.
Well, there's always a smoky. We could continue on all night if we wanted to.
We're going to sit here and just talk about the race.
Jim's put the coffee machine back on, so we're right to go.
Breakfast time.
Guys, thank you very much for joining us today and your tips and your insight on the race. To everybody who is racing, good luck, all the best. Enjoy the experience. That's the most important thing I think we've got out of today. To Jim and the team here at Cafe Racer, thanks very much for having us. To Slingard Studios for their assistance. Greatly appreciated behind the lens as always. We look forward to seeing you next time on Triathlon Minds, and until then, enjoy Kona 2014.